Have you ever asked a simple question, and suddenly he changed? His voice got louder, his tone sharper, and his body language defensive, all from one harmless question like, "Where were you?" or "Who were you texting?" It happens so fast that most people miss it, but psychology doesn't. Because science confirms when someone reacts defensively to something small, it's not about your question, it's about their truth. In this video, we're diving deep into the psychological meaning behind male defensiveness, why it happens, what it reveals, and how you can spot when it's a sign of guilt or insecurity. And by the end, you'll know exactly what his reaction really says about what's going on inside his mind. 1. The psychology of defensiveness. Defensiveness is one of the human mind's most powerful self-protection mechanisms. According to psychologist John Gottman, defensiveness often shows up when someone feels attacked or exposed, even if you didn't attack them at all. When a man becomes defensive at a simple question, it usually means your words hit something deeper, something he's trying to hide, deny, or avoid confronting. It's not always about lying. Sometimes it's about shame. Maybe he doesn't want to admit something that makes him feel weak, uncertain, or not in control. The defensive reaction, the sighs, the irritation, the "why are you even asking me?" that is his way of protecting his ego from vulnerability. In other words, defensiveness isn't just resistance, it's fear disguised as anger, and the stronger the reaction, the more likely he's hiding something he doesn't want to face in you or in himself. 2. The hidden emotions. Behind his reactions. When a man becomes defensive, it's rarely without reason. It's what psychologists call emotional leakage. This reaction often reveals more than his words ever could. In psychology, this behavior is known as a projection defense, a subconscious way of pushing one's own guilt, fear, or insecurity onto someone else to avoid confronting it internally. For instance, when you ask, "Did you text her again?" and he fires back with, "Why don't you trust me?" That's not a genuine answer, it's deflection. His mind is shifting the spotlight away from the truth and turning it toward your supposed problem. Deep down, defensiveness hides powerful emotions. The fear of losing control, shame for being exposed, guilt for doing something wrong, or insecurity about being truly seen. Instead of focusing on his words, pay attention to his body language. It never lies. Watch for small cues, breaking eye contact, fidgeting, or forced laughter. These micro-reactions are what psychologists call truth leakage, the body's involuntary way of revealing hidden emotions. So while he might sound convincing verbally, his physical signals often expose the emotional truth he's trying so hard to conceal. 3. The difference between defense and explanation. Not every defensive reaction means someone is lying, but defensiveness without explanation is often a clear psychological red flag. A confident, emotionally healthy man will usually respond to a simple question with calmness and clarity. He'll explain his side, offer reassurance, and maintain eye contact because truth doesn't need to panic. However, when a man is hiding something, his response shifts dramatically. Instead of addressing your question directly, he'll turn it back on you, change the subject, or act offended that you even asked. Psychologists call this behavior reactive guilt, when someone reacts emotionally rather than logically, because deep down, they feel exposed. The emotional outburst becomes a smokescreen to cover discomfort, shame, or guilt. This happens because the brain's defense system mistakes your question for an accusation, triggering a fight-or-flight response. The real difference lies in emotional regulation. A man with nothing to hide stays composed because his conscience is clear, but one carrying guilt reacts impulsively, as though your words have cornered him. In reality, your question didn't expose him, his own reaction did. When there's guilt underneath, even the simplest question feels like a bright light shining on a secret he's desperate to protect. 4. The 3 silent signs he's hiding something. Psychology teaches that even when words deceive, behavior never lies. Our body and tone constantly reveal truths the mind tries to hide. There are 3 powerful cues to notice. First, over-explaining or under-explaining. When someone gives far too much detail, or barely any at all, it often signals deceit, as the brain struggles to sound natural while maintaining control of the story. Second, instant defensiveness. A quick emotional reaction before logic can catch up shows that your question triggered something deeper, often guilt or fear. And third, micro-expression mismatch, fleeting facial cues like guilt, discomfort, or fake laughter, right before denial. Dr. Paul Ekman's research shows these micro-expressions are nearly impossible to control and often reveal the truth faster than words. When you learn to observe these signals, tone, eyes, timing, you realize the truth doesn't stay hidden. It leaks through in moments people think no one notices. 5. What you should do. Instead of arguing. When you notice defensiveness, your first impulse might be to argue, defend yourself, or demand answers, but that reaction usually backfires. That's because defensiveness is emotional, not logical. When someone feels exposed or guilty, they stop processing information rationally and start reacting from fear or pride. The most effective approach, therefore, is psychological detachment, stepping back emotionally while staying observant. When you remain calm, composed, and quiet, you remove the emotional fuel that defensiveness thrives on. This is what psychologists refer to as non-reactive observation, maintaining your emotional control so the other person's defenses weaken naturally. Silence creates a kind of psychological mirror. Without your reaction to focus on, the defensive person is forced to sit with their own discomfort. If he's being honest, he'll eventually relax and engage in open conversation. But if he's hiding something, the silence will amplify his anxiety, causing him to reveal inconsistencies, nervous gestures, or contradictory statements. Essentially, your calmness becomes a tool of truth, because silence doesn't accuse, it exposes. Remember, silence is a truth amplifier, and often, the less you say, the more the truth begins to speak for itself. At the end of the day, psychology confirms that defensiveness is communication, not the kind we hear, but the kind we feel. It's the mind's alarm system saying, "There's something here I don't want you to see." Whether it's guilt, fear, or emotional immaturity, defensiveness always tells a story. If you're patient enough to listen without reacting. So next time he gets defensive over a simple question, don't rush to argue. Just remember, calm people hide nothing. But the ones who react the loudest often reveal everything they were trying to keep secret.